My name's Sophia, I'm a care leaver. Welcome to Care Leaver Sophia. Today I want to talk about the education system before you turn 18, so doing your GCSEs, your A-levels, going to college, that sort of ballpark. Also, I promise you that I will show you my real life GCSE and A-level results in this video. So today we're going to be talking about teachers, we're going to be talking about making new friends, we're going to be talking about switching schools, we're going to be talking about exams, and we're going to be talking about why I think it's a really good idea to stay in school. Don't worry, this isn't going to be some lecture about how you have to stay in school and get your A-levels and get a diploma, because further education isn't right for everyone. But I am going to advocate for GCSEs. There are some pretty shocking statistics at the minute in the foster care community. So I'm currently looking at the Foster Care in England debate pack, which was released in 2018, and this can be found online. It's in the House of Commons library, public domain. You can go and have a look at the statistics now. So the national average of students to get GCSEs ranging from A star to C, at least 5, is 53%. For foster kids, that number is 14%. Okay, so that statistic isn't great. And honestly, this is GCSEs, this isn't A-levels. I very much advocate for getting at least 5 GCSEs. It doesn't necessarily have to be between A star and C, but you should be aiming towards somewhere in that bracket. But yeah, I get you. I don't think it's fair that I'm telling you guys that you have to get between A star and C grades in GCSE without showing you what grades I got. So GCSE wise, let's check out Sophia's shiny pink folder. I haven't actually looked in this for ages. I can't actually remember what grades I got. Okay, so I just went through, and for my GCSEs I got all A's and A stars. I remember the day the GCSEs came out because it was the summer that I went into care. I was in my foster parents' kitchen. It was the kitchen that had the parrot, if you guys have watched my last YouTube video. I got up at exactly 6 a.m. and I'm like running around the house in this bright yellow t-shirt, which wasn't a great idea because the parrot hated yellow, so the parrot's like zinging out of its mind. And yeah, I got the results through and I cried. I cried a lot, actually. Taking GCSEs is hard whether you're in care or not. One of the most interesting stories I heard about my GCSEs was my maths calculator paper. I couldn't concentrate for the entire exam because scheduled right after my maths GCSE exam, I had a police interview. So obviously, I don't know why my child protection officer thought it was a good idea to have that sort of meeting scheduled in for after GCSE, because obviously for the entire exam, that was all I could think about. Needless to say, that exam didn't go that great, but my other one pulled me up enough to get an A in maths, so it's all good. Having gotten A's and A stars though, I was someone who wanted to go on and do A-levels. So at A-level, I took music A-level, and it was actually compulsory because I was at a music school, so we all had to take music A-level. I did English literature, I took history, then I took German. Fun fact about me, I spent some of my childhood growing up in Germany, so I am, I'm decent at speaking German, or at least this is what I thought. Let me show you my A-level results. More specifically, let me show you my AS level results. So for those of you who aren't in the English system, AS are the exams you take in your penultimate year of school. And then you can continue that same course into your final year, or you can drop one of them. And I took 4 ASs and I ended up dropping German, and you'll see why. As you can see there, I got 3 A's and 1 D. My social worker at the time told me it gave me street cred, which just shows how much of a nerd she thought I was. I got all A's and A stars at GCSE and 3 A's, but I also got, a bad mark in one of my exams, and it didn't change what happened to me in the future. I still went to Oxford, I still graduated, I still speak German to this day. I mean, in my job that I'm currently in, I use German professionally. So if you have taken GCSEs or A-levels and you have got a bad mark, don't stress about it. If I'd stressed about that German mark, I probably wouldn't be here today doing a master's degree. Okay, so let's talk about moving schools and adjustments in general. So I was quite lucky because I didn't have to move schools when I was in care because I went to a boarding school, which I think is a solution for foster care, and I think that more boarding schools should fund places for children in care, because it prevents children having to move and change teachers and friendship groups and courses. I mean, different schools do different exam boards, for one thing. I've had friends who have gone from one school who are doing an AQA science GCSE to another school where they're doing OCR, and it's a completely different syllabus. Okay, it's not that different because it's science GCSE, but still, like, it's different enough that most students have to relearn it. And if you're a foster kid and that's happening to you quite, at intervallic periods, not great. I have to say though, the UK foster system is quite good at keeping kids in the same school, or at least in the same sort of school district area, which I'm really grateful for, because I've heard a lot of horror stories out of America of kids having to move schools sort of constantly, and up to like 20 times I've heard. But just because I didn't move schools during foster care doesn't mean I haven't moved schools in general. As I said earlier, I spent some time growing up in Germany. I went to 5 or 6 different schools. So I understand having to make friends again, having to adjust to new social groups and things like that. So my number one piece of advice for if you're changing schools, or if it's your first time in care, is find a teacher you trust, so that as long as you're at that school, you have one really good, sincere advocate for you. As I said earlier, my English teacher was, my hero. Think Dead Poets Society type of teacher, like absolute inspiration. For example, we were reading this book in class, and there was this whole chapter about self-harm and injury, and it got me quite upset, and I stopped coming to class, and I didn't tell anyone why, and he kind of reached out and went, "Why aren't you coming to class, Sophia?" And I said, I can't read this book, it's too close to home, I can't do it. And he said, "That's all right, you don't have to do the same book as everyone else." And he gave me The Great Gatsby to read, which is one of my favourite books of all time, and I ended up doing super well on my English Lit A-level. Another thing that was really cool was when I decided that I wanted to apply for Harvard and the American universities, as well as doing my A-levels, I had to take the SATs, and he spent time during his lunch breaks helping me prepare for the exams, which I will forever be grateful for. You don't have to become some sort of teacher's pet, but it is really reassuring to have that one person that you can turn to at school that isn't, like a child protection officer or a counsellor or whatever. It's just like an adult you can trust. And when you're in the system, an adult you can trust is pretty rare, and you've got to make the right choices, but teachers are a good place to start. Also, talking about teachers leads me on to one of my next points, and that's parents' evening. So if you're in the foster care system, you probably experienced getting that letter talking about parents' evening, and you're like, well, I don't really want my social worker to come, and I don't really want my foster parents to come, because you might not know them yet. It might be a new placement, or you might just not want them in your academic life or whatever. So what I used to do at parents' evening is I used to go. A lot of the time it wouldn't just be parents at my parents' evening, it would be parents' evening and the kid. But I would go on my own, and the teachers were really sweet about this. I would go up to them, like shake their hand, pretend to be like really formal, and they'd always address me as Miss Alexandra, which is my middle name. To sort of like pretend I was this adult. Because at the end of the day, they're talking about your work, and you're the person who's going to take that information in and change your, work ethic or grades or whatever the teachers want to talk to you about. Also, it's really nice in these situations to be treated like an adult. And I know as a foster kid, you're not technically or legally an adult, but to be honest, some of the stuff we've been through, it feels like it, right? To have an adult and a teacher address you as their peer as opposed to a student is super empowering, and I'd recommend going to your parents' evening. I know a lot of foster kids that I've met in the past have really worried about being bullied or being misunderstood. Kids can be really mean, but a lot of the times people are mean because they don't understand. Why would they? There are 60,000 children in the care system right now, and honestly, it's kind of a taboo subject. I mean, just the fact that I'm having to make these videos because there's nothing online about it. In the future, I'm thinking about doing a video where I talk to people who haven't been in the care system and say, hey, this is what it is. And if you guys want that, hit me up, like send me an email on careleversophia@yahoo.com, and we can make it a thing that you can send to your friends. So yeah, drop me a message if you think that's a good idea and I will get on making that. Okay, so one more refresher. I'd say no matter what else is going on in your life, try and put academia towards the top of your priorities list. Trust me, adult you will thank you for it later. I still find it insane that I'm doing a master's degree now. You know, I never thought I'd do a master's degree, even before I went into care and had all these wild notions of going and studying at amazing universities. If I think back to 16-year-old me sitting in that maths GCSE, and if I could tell her that in 5 years' time I'd be doing a master's degree at business school. Sometimes when it feels like the whole world's against you, you've just got to believe in yourself. And if you believe in yourself, then other people will start believing in you too. If you have any questions about GCSEs, about A-levels, about anything to do with school or the education system, or even if you want to start thinking about university, you can drop me a message in the comment section below, or you can email me at careleversophia@yahoo.com. I will try and respond as soon as possible. Anyway, thank you very much guys, stay in school kids, and see you in 2 weeks.